Although leases often give the impression of being unchangeable, they often have more wiggle room than tenants realize. If you're currently a tenant and you think your rent is outrageous, you should voice your opinion. Getting a favorable rent reduction from your landlord may seem impossible, but it's actually quite possible provided you can prove two things. Number 1, the price is significantly higher than market rates for comparable properties. And number 2, you've been a great tenant by always paying on time. Whether you're looking for a new place to live or just want to reduce your current rent, you have the option of engaging in such negotiations with the landlord. Make sure you watch to the end of this video to get all the necessary information you need to beat down that house rent price of yours. Without further ado, let's get right into the video. The best way for prospective tenant to negotiate rent before moving in. If you're a potential tenant trying to negotiate a cheaper rent with a landlord you've never dealt with before, you may find it more difficult to win over their favor. For this reason, a competitive market is crucial. Landlords who have had trouble renting out their units will be more willing to negotiate on rent than others. If they're in a tight spot, they might be willing to cut a bargain rather than lose a potential renter to a competitor. Number 1, suggest a reasonable rent reduction. Make sure you have done your homework and are prepared with a fair rental pricing. Make an offer on the rent that the landlord can bargain over rather than a lowball offer. Argue your point without being combative. Just put it out there that you're seeking for a long-term commitment and that you adore the place. Regrettably, this is the sum total of my personal financial reserves. Is it something you'd be willing to do in exchange for a longer lease term? Another option might be, instead of asking for a lesser fee, you may try asking for a free month. Number 2, present a solid credit score. Please provide a recent document demonstrating your excellent credit rating, which will show that you are able to consistently meet your financial obligations. An affordable rent from a reputable tenant is something a landlord should consider. Renters who are also responsible with their credit card and other debt payments are less likely to have problems with late payments. Number 3, compile data on rental rates. Search internet listings to find out what other similar properties in the neighborhood are renting for. Find out how long the home you want to buy has been on the market, as well as homes like it in the neighborhood. If the rental has been vacant for some time, you should also have proof of the market rate for similar apartments on hand to show the landlord during your conversation. It's possible that a comparable one-bedroom apartment in a different city has a feature that this one does not. Then, explain why the landlord's terms are excessive in comparison to the market rate by highlighting the aforementioned concerns. Number 4, make an outstanding application. You can get a better rent rate if you're an outstanding tenant applicant. That includes filing your application as soon as possible and sending supporting documents like tax records, employment verification, and references from prior landlords attesting to your prompt rental payments. This will demonstrate to prospective landlords that you are responsible and will take good care of the property. You could even propose a longer lease, like 2 years, to sweeten the deal. How current tenants should ask for lower rent. Number 1, highlight the advantages of your stay. The landlord would appreciate not having to go through the trouble of advertising a vacancy, showing the apartment, screening applications, and losing rental money while he hunts for new tenants. If you can convince him to maintain you as a tenant. Number 2, show the qualities of a stellar tenant. Tenant with impeccable payment history and high value like you deserves a rent reduction that should be viewed as a return on investment. Please reassure your landlord that you are a responsible tenant who always pays on time, takes care of the property, and looks out for the safety of your fellow tenants and the building's common areas. Number 3, specify what malfunctions require fixing. You should also consider gently reminding your landlord of any worn-out furniture or walls in your apartment that could use a fresh coat of paint. In that case, you can propose that a rent reduction is warranted because the object's existing state justifies it. You may also negotiate a lower rent by offering to fix or replace the things yourself. Number 4, make sure you talk about it before your rent is due. Get the ball rolling on this discussion a few months before your lease expires. You might start by stating that you have no plans to move and would like to continue renting so long as the price is acceptable. Then, be honest and say that you enjoy living in your current unit, but you've been looking around and have found other options with lower monthly rates. Number 5, put up the idea of a short-term rental price cut. If you think your landlord won't agree to a permanent decrease in rent, you could recommend a temporary decrease instead, such as a break for a few months during slower times of the year or off-peak seasons. Number 6, offer a compensation in return. In order to make your request for a rent rent reduction acceptable to your landlord, you should inquire as to whether he would prefer a longer lease term, a greater security deposit, or a prepayment of a month or two's rent. Hope this video is helpful. Like, share, and subscribe for more.